Welcome, John.
And you know,
Session. So I'll just go into a quick med just to prepare ourselves for today, for the evening session. So closing your eyes, back straight, sitting comfortably, your feet shoulder width apart. Put your hands in your lap and start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. So breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just pausing at the top of the inhale. Nice deep full inhale. Observing any thoughts and emotions going on. Noticing any thoughts that are not quite happy, loving. Bring them to mind. Notice thoughts, notice the emotions, the sensations. And with the help of your breath, you're just going to let them go. And exhale. Blowing them away into the nothingness they really are. From the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And let's find some stillness and some peace here. So just breathing in and out through your nose. Noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Just observing the breath flowing in and the breath flowing out. Stomach rising and the stomach falling. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, just observe the breath and sink inwards. Going into the mind, place in your mind where happiness dwells. So as you breathing in and out through the nose, and you just observe the breath. Just also review these thoughts. Say to yourself first, God, or love, or pure formless awareness. Gives me only happiness. And this presence has given my function to me. Therefore, my function must be happiness. So just try to see the logic in this sequence. love or pure formless awareness gives you only happiness. Well, if that's not the case, then you must define God or love as something that it is not. Love cannot give evil. It doesn't understand it. It's an alien condition. Whereas happiness is not evil. What's not happiness is evil. And it doesn't make you blissfully happy. It's what we call a form of evil. Evil is really just to live backwards. It cannot be true or real. God or love cannot give what it does not have. It cannot have what it is not. So unless God or love or pure formless awareness gives you only happiness, it must be evil. But then it wouldn't be itself. Pure formless awareness is pure. There are no evil thoughts that exist there. It's just unlimited, infinite awareness, expansive forever. So if we believe that God or love gives us evil, then we're believing in a false definition. So accept in your mind that love, God, pure formless awareness, gives me only happiness. That the nature of the state is that it's a happy state. There is no negativity there. There's no limitation, no lack, no scarcity. Just pure formless awareness, infinite love, expansive, spacious awareness forever, without limit. So accept that the nature of love and of pure formless awareness is that it is only happiness. It gives only happiness because that is its nature, that is its state of mind. When you unite your mind with it, then you cannot help but be happy. So this is given, say to yourself, this is given my function to me. This presence, this love, this pure formless awareness has given me my function. Say that to yourself. As Jesus points out here, there are only two parts of your mind. One is ruled by the belief in separation and is made up of illusions. Illusions, they are not true. These thoughts are not true. The other is the home of the awareness of oneness or love, the Holy Spirit, where truth abides. So there are no other guides but these to choose between, and no other outcomes possible as a result of your choice. The fear that the belief in separation always engenders, the love that the Holy Spirit or the awareness of oneness or love always offers to replace it. So breathe this truth in. Just a split in your mind, and it's a choice between one or the other thought system. Remind yourself that you cannot have both. There's one or the other. So you must choose. Either your function is established by God, by love, pure formless awareness, through its voice, its awareness, or is made by the belief in separation, which you have made up to replace it. So which is true? And this love or pure formless awareness gave your function to you. Must be the gift of the ego, the belief in separation. Those are the alternatives. You accept love, pure formless awareness, or you deny it. Ask yourself, does this gift, does this belief really have gifts to give? How can a belief in separation really give me anything? Being itself an illusion, and therefore offering only the illusion of gifts. In other words, everything that comes from a false belief must be false, illusory. That's what an illusion means. It's not true, it's false. So whatever the ego has made up is by definition false or illusory. And how can the illusory and the false satisfy your true mind? It's false, so it can never offer you what the truth can offer you. It can only offer you illusions, which are illusions of gifts. So just think about this for a bit. So you keep breathing nice, deep, slow, rhythmical breaths in and out through your nose, and observe the breath flowing in and the breath flowing out. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, be still. As you think about the many forms the illusion of your function is taken in your mind, many ways in which you try to find salvation under the ego's guidance, its belief in separation, has a seeming will, it has kind of intent for you. So ask yourself, did you find it? When you listen to the ego, were you happy? Did these ego goals bring you peace? Jesus says we need great honesty today. Remember the outcomes fairly, and consider also whether it is ever reasonable to expect happiness from anything the ego ever proposed. How can the belief in separation propose anything that's sensible if it's a false belief? And yet this belief in separation, is the only alternative to the Holy Spirit's voice, to the awareness of love's voice in your mind. So you will listen to one or the other. Jesus says you will listen to madness or you will hear the truth. I'm going to make this choice as you think about the premises on which conclusion rests. Conclusion is that happiness is your function. Your happiness and your function are one. They are not separate, they are not different. Your function is to be happy, happiness is your function. That's the conclusion. Recognize that you will listen to madness or hear the truth. Either you're going to follow the ego's ways, deny happiness, try and find some kind of happiness, health, salvation in a dream. Or you will hear the truth, which says happiness is your true function. Your only real function on earth, to be happy. So as you're happy, You heal and correct your mind so that all the false beliefs in separation are undone. So try to make this choice now as you think about the premises on which the conclusion rests. This conclusion is based on two premises: that God or love or pure formless awareness gives me only happiness. Seeing that that's true, you have to define love or pure formless awareness as what it's not in order to make this statement false. So love or pure formless awareness gives me only happiness. Being in that state makes me happy. That's what Jesus is saying. Premise number one. Premise number two, it has given my function to me. That's given my function to me. Well, there's only two choices. It's either this presence, love or pure formless awareness, or it's the ego, it's belief in separation. Those are the two voices in your mind. And they deny each other. So if you deny the truth of this lesson, say love or pure formless awareness does not give me only happiness, or it is not given my function to me, and so if I don't believe that my function must be happiness, then you are listening to the ego, because you're not choosing the spirit, and the ego will be the way that you're following. There's only two alternatives. So recognize this. You listen to madness or hear the truth. Try to make this choice as you think about these premises, on which the conclusion that your happiness is your function rests. And we can share in this conclusion, but in no other. For God or love or pure formless awareness itself shares it with us. So this idea is another giant stride, the perception of the same as the same, i.e. happiness is your function. Your function is happiness. And there is really no distinction between these. So they are one thing. Today's idea is another giant stride, the perception of the same as the same, and the different as different. On one side stand all illusions, all truth stands on the other. Let's realize that only the truth is true. Only happiness is true. This is the truth of who you really are. And it's your true function to be happy. And so for a couple of minutes of silence, just to sink in deeper into your mind, into the acceptance of this as an experience in your mind. So using your mind to use kind of mind training is useful, but in the end it's the experience. So experience it now. Just experience the happiness. For a couple of minutes of deep silence. Just breathe in and out through your nose, watch your breath. Connect to the breath and allow this happiness to arise as a natural state in your mind. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, observe the breath flowing in and out through the nostrils. And be happy. Remind yourself, my only function is happiness. Happiness and my function are one. So let me experience my true function now. The next couple of minutes of deep silence. When any thoughts arise that seemingly disturb this happiness, there's a fluctuation in the disturbance in your peace. You just casually observe them. They're just like cloud patterns drifting by. You observe them and just blow them away with the breeze of your breath. Nothingness they really are. And you rest in the blue sky of your true awareness, this pure formless awareness, love, God, call it whatever you want, just a state of awareness that's infinite, open, spacious, and aware. And this state is happiness. So my God, love, or pure formless awareness gives you only happiness. So sink into that, experience it fully, deeply, for another couple of minutes of deep silence. Just be happy. Happiness arise like a butterfly in your mind. There's no need to try and seek it. If you strive for it, you desire it, then you push it away. Desire denies that you are happy now, implies that you need something to happen in the future for you to be happy. Of course, that's a never-ending cycle. You're always trying and striving and never succeeding. So let go of all words now and just sink inwards to the happiness that you are, your true state, your only function. Another couple of minutes of deep, happy silence. And so, just gently bringing your awareness back into the body, into the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of three, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And pausing at the top of the inhale. Once more, just scan your mind and remind yourself that my happiness, my function are one, because love or pure formless awareness gives me only happiness. It's its nature, that's a natural consequence of being in pure formless awareness. Experience we call happiness, and so it is given my function to me. This awareness is my function. My function is this awareness. So therefore my function must be happiness. Just follow the logic in the sequence. It's impeccable logic, you can't fault it. Only if you deny premises that are true and you make up another story. But if love or pure formless awareness gives only happiness, which it does, otherwise it wouldn't be love, and it has given your function to you because it is your source, your base state, the awareness without which you would have no existence, then surely to be one with this awareness, your knowledge and live in this awareness is your natural state. It's your only function. So therefore my function must be happiness. Exhale the truth of that. Have a sense of releasing any remaining blocks like smoke out of your mouth, leaving your whole body, your energy system. So exhale, notice the air flowing out, the chest and the stomach suck back in, the energy subside back down the front channel of your body, coming to rest in your lower stomach and your groin. And feel the weight of your body. Press them down to the chair, your feet touching the ground. Count of 2, noticing what you're feeling and touching. Notice any smell in your nose as you breathe in. Maybe there's a subtle taste in your mouth. Notice that. Notice what you're hearing. Not any judgment of any of it. What you see and feel and touch and taste and perceive in any way is all illusory. So just anchor the state in by noticing it, this underlying happiness as your base state. Keep you connected to that through the session. Just keep some attention on your breathing. Just observing the breath flowing in to the nostrils and then flowing out of the nostrils. So, as said, so is done. You're going to stay in this happy state, and in the state, you receive the guidance you need from the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, which is responsible for the state, attaining the state in your mind. And so when you're ready, just open your eyes. Just take a minute to look around the room in this very calm, peaceful, happy state. Notice everything in quite a detached way. You don't have to give any meaning. You notice that this underlying state of happiness is still present. It's as present as it was when your eyes were closed. And appearances outside of you do not really affect the state at all. That's the teaching of this. So that brings us to the end of the meditation. So let's go into the text, shall we? And say hello to Iona. Hi, Iona. Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Hi. Yeah.
So you caught the tail end of the med there.
Lovely.
Oh.
Mm.
Hi, you John. You still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so yeah, we've done the lesson. So shall we just dive into the text?
Yeah.
Sure.
This one's called the correction of error. Section 3, chapter 9, if you want to follow in your book, Iona. So do you want to kick it off, John?
Sure.
Yeah. The correction of error. The alertness of the ego, the desire for separation, to the errors of other egos, other beliefs in separation, is not the kind of vigilance the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, would have you maintain. Egos, i.e. separations, are critical in terms of the kind of sense they stand for. They understand this kind of sense because it is sensible to them. To the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, it makes no sense at all. So what we're saying here is that the ego is very keen to engage with other egos, but the Holy Spirit is not interested and is completely not triggered by it.
Yeah.
And egos are critical in terms of the way they choose or elect to make sense of their separate worlds. But that makes no sense to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, so don't be alert to the errors of other egos. And you said separations there. It made me smile. It's like you got these little beliefs in separation, really, masquerading as people. That's really what's going on in this world. A little belief in separation that's got attached itself to a form, in our case, a human form. and now is very vigilant of the errors of other egos, the errors of other beliefs in separation, masquerading as people. And he's saying to the Holy Spirit, none of this makes any sense at all, because only the awareness of oneness is true. Only oneness is true. Okay. So happy with paragraph 1?
Yeah, makes sense.
Straightforward, good introduction. He's saying, the ego is alert to the errors of other egos. But this isn't really the kind of vigilance that the Holy Spirit would have you maintain. To seek for fault in your brothers. The Holy Spirit notices the error, but it simply says the error is not real, and so it doesn't react to it as he's going to explain as we go on. So number 2, read number 2, Anna.
To the ego or belief in separation, it is kind and right and good to point out errors and correct them. This makes perfect sense to the belief in separation, which is unaware of what errors are and what correction is. Errors are of the belief in separation, and correction of errors lie in the relinquishment of the belief in separation. When you correct a brother, you are telling him that he is wrong. He'd be making no sense at the time, and it is certain that if he is speaking from the belief in separation, he will not be making sense. But your task is still to tell him he is right. You do not tell him this verbally if he is speaking foolishly. He needs correction at another level because his error is at another level. He is still right because he is an extension of love. His belief in separation is always wrong, no matter what it says or does. So, I was going to take myself as a great example of like correcting Kenneth when he is wrong. Or it might make more impact for me personally if I was to say, well, when Kenneth does it to me, when his belief in separation is kind and right and good to point out my errors and make them right. This all makes perfect sense in the ego land, because proper correction is a bringing back to the awareness of who we really are.
That's more helpful, really, I think, to try and remind your brother of who they are than to try and correct them.
Yeah. Well, I did much better the other day. Today I did not.
Right. Okay.
When I was reminding him who truly was, I don't believe what you're saying. It's not right. It's not who you are. But today I really bought it.
Oh, that's how it goes. It's a dance, with this belief in separation.
Right.
Because that's all it is. It's a belief system. A thought system based on a belief, and it's very deeply entrenched in our thinking.
Very.
So it comes up all the time, and then you've got to be aware of it. This is what he's training us to do: just be aware of it, and don't fall for it. Don't buy it, because it's showing it. It's self in another form. This belief has many forms, and we need to recognize them so we can not be fooled. This is quite a major lesson, in this correction of error, because it's so easy, isn't it? To go, oh, well, I see the error, and I see the error in my brother. Oh yes, they're making a mistake, and kind of plays into the spiritual ego, so to speak. I'm now, I'm studying Course in Miracles, so I get this. I'm kind of superior, and so I'm going to point out the errors of everyone else because I can see them so clearly. Aren't I special? But Jesus is
I
saying,
think you
oh,
were
it's
sitting
actually
in,
nonsense.
I think you were sitting in the room this afternoon. I think you must have been sitting in the room
Really?
this afternoon. That's exactly what was going down.
Really? Yeah, yeah. So it's just it's a common trap, really, that
Right.
we fall into. Because the ego doesn't, of course, it doesn't really want you to listen to the Holy Spirit only. So it's going to try and hijack the spiritual path and say, okay, well, I'll go with you then,
Yeah.
and and I'll come along for the ride, and I'll try and sneak in there and actually take over and hijack the spiritual path and actually just kind of manifest in a different form. So this is the spiritual ego, which is so particularly dangerous for any spiritual seeker to it's a trap we can easily fall into, because it seems to be, well, now I have this knowledge now. Yes, well, of course I can see the error. I've been trained to see the error. But what Jesus is asking us to do is don't see the error and then make it real by trying to correct it. It's actually just a letting go of it and saying. And so that doesn't mean you believe your brother if he's speaking nonsense, as he's saying here. If he's speaking foolishly, then he needs correction at another level, because his error is at another level. So he is still right because he's the Son of God. So what you did the other day was really, it was a good example of this, because you held him in your right mind. You said, this is who you are.
Yeah.
I'm not going to focus on the error and try and correct the error. I'm just going to remind you of who you are. And if you remember that, then the error will correct of itself. It will come into your true awareness. And I don't need to lecture you as to your errors and so on, because you'll remember yourself, and I've just helped you remember. So I think that's really the approach he's giving, rather than itemization of errors. Because you itemize your brother's errors, what does it do? It makes the ego real. Makes the error real, and it makes it real in your own mind. It's very sneaky, isn't it? It's such a sneaky belief.
Yeah.
It's always trying to find a way into your mind and to justify it.
Oh, I've been really skewered, because the other day, because the issue was not about me, I found it easier to sit there and say, I see you in your higher self. Today it was much more about me, apparently. So I was really, I was not clear.
The brothers, we react personally, don't we? Because we're still identified with a personal self.
Yeah.
Which
I did react personally.
Which then we get into defensive mode, because what do we defend then? We're defending the little personal self that we've invented, that we now think's under threat and needs to be defended against this apparent attack, which of course is ridiculous, because it's not even real. How can you defend something that's not real? But by your defense, you make it real. That's what in later lessons he goes into this in a lot of detail. In my defenselessness lies my perfect safety, and when I defend myself, I'm attacked. I'm acknowledging that this thought system is real. So don't buy the error. It's just trying to overlook it. If someone's making an error, they're in the ego. As he says, you don't tell them verbally if they're talking nonsense that that they're speaking truth and it's all good. But you need to correct it at another level, which is the level of the mind.
Okay.
That's what he's saying here.
So
his error is at another level. So his error is at a deep level or higher level of his mind. He's not even aware of. He or she's making the error because the person believes in separation.
Yeah.
In a very deep way, and they can't help themselves. They're like, well, once that belief is it's entrenched in their mind and it plays itself out, and they've got all these patterns, and they just run the pattern, they run the program. And so what you can do then is try and hold them in their higher self, in your perception. Say, look, this is not true, and so I'm not going to react to this. And that can look, just depending on the situation, it might look differently. But take the Buddha. I mean, there's that example of this old man who apparently came and he was deliberately trying to taunt him. So he came and he's like insulting him and using every possible insult for like 10 minutes. And the Buddha just sits there and doesn't react at all. He doesn't react to the error, doesn't respond at all. And then when the guy pauses for breath, he just says, well, if someone gives you a gift and you don't accept it, whose gift is it? And that, of course, interrupts the guy's pattern. And he then goes, actually, it's still the giver's. And he says, yeah, well, precisely. So if you're giving me all this abuse and I don't accept it, then guess what? It's still yours. And so he's very present and loving. He's just pointing out the obviousness of what the old man's doing. And then the guy goes, wow, this is actually so wise. Like, how amazing presence of mind not to react to my insults, not to take it personally, and just to sit there and equanimously speak the truth. So he didn't point out the error, he just reminded the guy of the truth. And then the old man became his disciple and he started learning from him, because he was like, the truth was what corrected his mind. So that's one way it can play out. Play out in many ways. Another situation, when I was at the Vipassana retreat, the kind of course facilitator, he wasn't the facilitator, he was kind of the guy who was the caretaker of the property. He was the course, I don't know what you call him, but he was there, administrator, organizing. But he did a lot of the Vipassana himself. And he's quite a young guy in his 20s. And he said he was sitting with his father, who was having a go at him and getting quite angry and shouting at him. And he said, I just looked at him. I didn't say anything. I just looked and I observed, because the Vipassana trained him just to observe. Okay, observe emotion, observe sensation, observe breath, observe sensation. What's going on in my body? Ooh, there's a flutter in my stomach. I'm feeling heat. And he's just able to stay in that present state of awareness and just observe and just look. He just looked from that state of awareness at his father, and then he said it was amazing. It just dissipated. The charge just came down. Suddenly his father, kind of calmed down and sat down, and within a few minutes they were actually having some kind of reasonable conversation. Whereas if he pointed out the error, oh, you're just in your ego, and this is, well, then the father's going to react, isn't he? So it's this idea of just the pure formless awareness, just being of itself and holding that space for someone, and then that presence reminds the person of what they are.
I certainly know that experience, yeah. The verbal doesn't come, but it's just the observation, and I think, I'm running out of ego steam here. I think I'll pipe down.
And so, maybe just being more quieter and silent, just sitting and saying, okay, I'm not going to react to this. And maybe you say something, maybe you don't. If you just sit in that present state and you don't react, that's got to have an impact. It can't not influence the other person, because they actually want you to fight with them. That's the truth of the matter.
Yes.
Ego loves an argument, doesn't it? So wants to get a rise, and if you just refuse and you're just sitting there in your state of pure awareness, then you're reminding them of who they are. And so that's the correction at the other level that he's talking about. And a lot of the Eastern masters, they didn't say very much. People would go there for correction, and it was non-verbal. They would just sit in the presence, and they would feel better. They'd have all kinds of problems that they go with, and then just sitting in that presence, that they'd feel better and feel like the problems had dissipated. The master didn't even have to say much. Or you would simply say, well, who suffers? Ramana would say, who suffers? One question, who suffers? And that question then took them into their higher mind. So there's other ways of dealing with it. The ego can say, well, how am I going to do it if I don't point out the errors in my brother? Well, maybe you need to let it go and open to the Holy Spirit's way. Say, okay, well, I'm not doing it. It's the Holy Spirit. And I'm just going to be guided. If I'm in that state of mind, let me get into the state. That's the key thing. Stay in the state of mind. And then the behavior will come from it. The words and the actions will come from that state naturally. And whatever's appropriate will happen. It'll guide you to say the right thing or do the right thing in each situation. And you can't plan it, you can't say in advance, well, this is how it's going to be. It just spontaneously arises from the presence in the moment. Okay, so any thoughts or questions about number 2?
Well, just that it relates very much to my experience today again. Yep. But I really appreciated the story of the Buddha, and we'll try and be more like the Buddha next time there's an ego blizzard going on.
Because you just don't energize it then. So the ego is always trying to be real and get you to make it real in your awareness. So telling someone they're wrong makes it real.
Yeah.
Just like, well, there it is. I've named it. It's wrong. It's real. Whereas letting it go in your own mind and then holding this higher awareness is a different approach. Okay. Do you want to summarize number 2?
Well, it's about the levels of correction that can't correct at the same level that the error was made.
No, that's a good way of phrasing it, actually.
Yeah, it's just going in on the same low level. So if my task is still to tell him he is right, he is always right. On another level. Yeah.
And he says you don't necessarily tell him that verbally.
No.
If he's speaking foolishly, he needs correction at another level. So it's perception. Change your mind.
Okay.
Change your mind, change your state, and then the words and the actions come from that state of mind.
Yeah.
And that's then guided by the Holy Spirit. It's not you doing it anymore. It's the awareness of oneness that's doing it through you.
It's such a relief. Hand it over.
Yeah, literally is. And then it's going to be wisdom. It's going to be truly guided, and it's going to be truly helpful to you and to the other person. Because remember, the one-ment is for both of you. Both of your journeys back to oneness. Okay, so I'm happy with number 2.
Yeah.
So number 3 then.
Yeah, so it continues the idea here. And this is very much what we've just been saying, actually. If you point out the errors of your brother's ego, desire for separation, you must be seeing through yours. Because the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, does not perceive his errors and is not interested in them. This must be true, since there is no communication between the ego, the sense of separation, and the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness. The ego, sense of separation, makes no sense, and the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, does not attempt to understand anything that arises from it. Therefore, doesn't give it any energy. Since he does not understand it, he does not judge it, knowing that nothing the ego, sense of separation, makes means anything. So I think we've kind of been through that, really. I mean, it doesn't engage with the ego. The Holy Spirit doesn't engage with the ego because he knows that to do so would feed it energy, and there is no point in so doing.
It simply means nothing. So don't make nothing mean something by giving it a reality.
Yeah.
That's really the key. So this is just a total undermining of the ego's thought system by not giving it any reality at every point. Don't believe the belief in separation, however it manifests.
Mm.
And then your response is going to be very different. So you just stay in that state of higher awareness, and you don't get sucked down to the lower level, which you talked about. The significant problems we face cannot be solved at the same level of thinking we're at when we created them. So, Einstein said that. Apply that to this. You can't solve it at the level of the error.
Yeah.
You have to raise your thinking above that,
Right.
and transcend it. And only then is the error corrected. Otherwise, you just make the error real.
I think people respond to that, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah, if you can truly hold the higher space, hold that awareness, it's going to make an impact on people.
Yeah.
Even if they're totally an ego, they will notice. There's actually a great movie I was watched called Revolver. Did you ever watch it?
I'm not sure.
It's a Guy Ritchie movie.
Guy Ritchie. Oh, really? No.
Yeah, it's all about spirit and ego. It's an amazing movie.
Revolver.
Revolver, yeah. And so it's about this guy who is a gambler, and he goes to prison. He's been set up, and he goes to prison, and he wants revenge. And he comes out, and he's like, right, I'm going to get the guy who set me up. He's a casino boss. And so it's the story of, and then he's got these guides who are in prison with him, who represent the Holy Spirit, who are trying to show him a different way, a way out of the ego. And at the end, he faces the guy, this casino boss, who's got a gun, and he's pointing at him, and he's like, and he's not scared. He's just looking at him. He's in this. It's such a great scene. He's just a bit like the Matrix right at the end. Just like, okay, so you want to attack me? I'm just in my higher awareness. He's so in that space that he just looks at him, and he's like, and the guy can't handle it because he's expecting him to be freaked out, and he's got the gun and he should be in charge, and yet his presence of mind just turns the tables. The guy can't handle it. He cracks up because he's like, you should be frightened of me, and you're not. Why aren't you frightened? And he's just looking at him, not saying nothing, just looking from this present state. And of course, it freaks the guy's ego out, and he actually can't pull the trigger. In the end, I think he committed suicide, if I recall. Or he just like implodes. He can't. His ego just collapses. He can't deal with someone at that level of presence. Just not scared. Like, okay, whatever. Great movie. So we can watch that as one of our movie watching evenings. Speaking of which, actually, this Saturday, given us Easter weekend, shall we watch Risen?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, does that work for you? Saturday, we could do it Sunday as well, but Sunday evening is normally this session. So, does Saturday night work?
I'm going to be away all weekend. I'm going to London Friday to Tuesday.
Right. Okay. Can you watch there or not?
On Saturday night, I'll probably be talking rubbish with friends.
Okay. Well, let me know if you
watched it. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, well, you have watched it, but quite good to watch it and get or comment on it and discuss it.
Yeah.
So if you can make a gap sometime in that weekend, let me know.
Yeah, I will.
We can arrange it. I don't mind particularly when we watch it. Generally, evening's better. So Saturday evening, we do Sunday evening instead, and then do the session in the afternoon. That's also possible. So.
I've got a lot of socials family and friends. So it's going to be a busy one.
If you can't make it, then just catch a pudding. Okay, so we'll do it Saturday unless we decide otherwise. So moving swiftly on with number 3 then. You want to read number 3, Iona?
If you point out the errors of your brother's belief in separation, you must be seeing through yours, because the awareness of oneness does not perceive his errors. This must be true, since there is no communication between the belief in separation and the awareness of oneness. Belief in separation makes no sense, and the awareness of oneness does not attempt to understand anything that arises from it. Since it does not understand it, it does not judge it, knowing nothing the belief in separation makes means anything. So if I point out the errors of my brother's ego, I must be seeing through mine. Seeing through my ego. Oh, seeing through the wrong source, on the wrong level. Because the awareness of oneness is not perceiving Kenneth's mistakes.
No, as he's saying, there's no communication between them.
Yeah.
Oneness is oneness is oneness. So the Holy Spirit just overlooks it and says, this is just not true. So don't give it any headspace at all.
Oh, this must be true. Yeah, right. No communication between belief in separation and awareness of oneness. The awareness of oneness does not attempt to even understand anything. So, and therefore he does not judge it, knowing that it's nonsense. Yeah, that's simple.
Yeah, the theory is wonderful. To actually practice it when it's in your face.
Yeah.
It's happening, and the belief in separation seems to be real, and rising up and speaking to you in the form of a person or doing things. This is the mind training. You've got to remember this is still nothing.
That's a brilliant paragraph for me. That is just, I might have to write that out and stick it on the wall. The wall is getting a bit crowded.
Yeah. Remember, nothing the ego makes means anything.
Yeah.
So why am I giving this a meaning if it means nothing? Nothing I see, back to first principles. Lesson 1, nothing I see means anything. I've given it all the meaning it has for me. Who's given it the meaning? You, the little self has. Why? Because that reinforces the little self's identity. That now, if you see the errors in your brother, then those errors must be real, and the little self feels strengthened, and its identity gets reinforced. That's what's going on. So the Holy Spirit simply says, no, none of it's absolutely none of it is true or real. So don't give it any headspace. Don't give it any reality at all. And if you can really do that, that's true forgiveness. Then that has to have an impact on your brother. Very difficult if someone's totally letting it go, totally in their high awareness.
Yeah.
To continue on your ego story, very difficult. As that scene from Revolver I mentioned, the guy just couldn't sustain it. It's like, I can't sustain the attack when this guy's in the space and he's not scared of me. He's not making this real. It's on another level. Okay, so we'll give a little summary of number 3.
Well, yep, I'm seeing through my ego when I point out the error of my brother's ego. Awareness of oneness simply doesn't perceive what I apparently see. I must remember there's no communication between ego and the awareness of oneness. ego makes no sense. Holy Spirit doesn't judge it, knowing full well the ego means nothing.
Yeah, pretty good summary. So it's very, very simple, but it's to have the presence of mind to do it in the scrum of the ego when things get tested.
Yeah.
Not to get sucked in, not to feel that, not to let the belief in separation get to you and take you down that rabbit hole.
It is a scrum. It's like being assaulted from all sides. It can feel like that.
And so, this is the ego's weapon. The belief in separation. It's like, okay, so you think you're going to go to oneness, will you? So, okay, let's make it really difficult then. We're gonna hit you from all sides with this belief. It's going to seem to be very real. You're going to have conflict with, especially special relationships, and love's that, is the battleground of the ego. It's like, this is what they're for, right? Special relations for the ego are the field of conflict, the battleground, where conflict is perpetual, and you're never going to find peace because you're continuously locked in this struggle, this battle of wills with this other person you love and you hate. And sometimes you love them and then you hate them, and it switches back to special love. But special love and special hate are just two sides of the same coin. And this is saying, well, nothing the ego makes means anything. So that special relationship doesn't mean anything.
No.
So don't make it special. The person not any more special than anyone else. They're just pure spirit, and whatever the identity, the ego identity, and whatever roles they're playing, and whatever relationship you're having is ultimately not true. The only truth is that we are one. I am one with you. You are one with me. There is no separation. That's the only truth. It runs universally through every relationship. So he's asking us to take it to that level and just say, look, the ego is just ridiculous nonsense, makes absolutely no sense. Let me stay in the awareness of truth only, and see my brother as myself. That's it, and no exceptions to that. And so this is the practice, and this is the work, because it seems to be opposite to that, and you seem to be caught up in some kind of special relationship with people, and you have your identity and they have theirs, and you have your own ideas, and now you conflict. And I mean, it's a what a mind job. I mean, you just got to go, what a mind job we've done on ourselves to do this. The complexity of the ego's thought system to support itself is enormous. The ingenuity of it is enormous. And so the only way out of that, ingenious of the ego to preserve itself is this kind of, no, it's just not true. None of it. That's the only way you're ever going to undo it. Just pop the bubble and say, no, it isn't true. None of it's true. So I'm not going to give it any reality. I can't really understand this because it doesn't make any sense. So I'm just going to dismiss it, deny it in my mind, not react, and then be guided from that place as to how I react, how I respond on the level of form. Or maybe that means you do nothing. Maybe you say something. Every situation is different, but the spirit will guide you. If you're really in that state, then you will act appropriately. And then it's not you doing it. It's kind of the whole idea. It's the presence of love doing it through you. Okay. Happy with number 3?
Yeah.
Okay, moving swiftly on to 4 then.
When you react at all to errors, you are not listening to the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness. He has merely disregarded them. And if you attend to them, you are not hearing him with a capital H, i.e. the awareness of oneness. If you do not hear him, the awareness of oneness, you are listening to your ego, your belief in separation, and making as little sense as a brother whose errors you perceive. This cannot be correction. Yet it is more than merely a lack of correction for him. It is the giving up of correction in yourself. I think it's the interesting bit is number 5 and 6 actually. Yeah, this cannot be correction. If we engage with his ego, it cannot be correction, yet it is more than merely a lack of correction for him. It is the giving up of correction in yourself, because it is your own ego that is engaged in it in the first place and gave it a sense.
Yeah. Anything else strike you there? The first couple of lines, sentences?
No, I think it's straightforward, really.
Okay. You want to give a little summary of it then?
If we engage through our ego with the ego of our brother by perceiving him as wrong and trying to correct him, then this makes little sense, because we are doing it through our own egos, and to give up criticism of him is to give up criticism of ourselves, because we are engaging in it through our own egos. So we are doing both him and ourselves a favor.
Yeah, so remember, the ego is a virus. It's a thought system that wants to catch everyone. So if someone's an ego, then they actually want to pull you into ego as well. They want to infect you with the virus. And you do that by making the errors real. And then you're making as little sense as the brothers whose errors you perceive, because both of you are in an illusion of separation, both believing in separation, and that's not true. So this cannot be correction, logically. Can't correct separation by believing in separation. You have to undo, not believe in separation, to correct it. So giving up of correction in yourself. So this is really the key point. You know, when you do this, you're giving up the correction in yourself, and you're condemning yourself to the ego's thought system. Condemning yourself to this really nasty belief in separation and all of its consequences by doing this. So ego is going to tell you, oh, well, somehow you're missing out by not correcting your brother. But the truth is, you're actually gaining the awareness of truth by not correcting his errors. You then stay rooted in the truth, and that's the only state of mind you can be happy in.
Yeah. Stay rooted in the truth.
By not reacting to errors. So
Yeah.
so when you're tempted to react, and you notice, the ego speaks first and loudest, and you notice that impulse to want to react egoically, say something, do something in reaction, which is usually not kind. It's going to be some kind of defense or attack or something. Then just observe it and say, no, this cannot be true. The error is not true. So I'm not going to react to it, because by reacting to it, I make the error real. This is the ego's cunning. Like when you react to something, you make it real in your mind. So then it's real for you. So by not reacting, you then deny its reality. That's the principle of detachment or letting go. That's why it works. You simply don't make the error real.
Okay.
All right, happy with number 4?
Yeah, makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So, when a brother behaves insanely, you can heal him only by perceiving the sanity in him. If you perceive his errors and accept them, you are accepting yours. If you want to give yours over to the awareness of oneness, you must do this with his. Unless this becomes the one way in which you handle all errors, you cannot understand how all errors are undone. How is this different from telling you that what you teach, you learn? Your brother is as right as you are, and if you think he is wrong, you are condemning yourself. Right. I'm very familiar with that first sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. What he's saying and doing is insane. He's out of his mind. But if I keep seeing the light and the truth in him, then I am accepting my light and truth. If I side with his perceived errors and accept them, I accept mine. And if I want to give all my errors over to Holy Spirit, I must also do the same. Again, there are no two rules in this. There's one rule. Yeah. But yeah, for years I've understood that the way I've handled all errors means that I haven't understood how all errors can be undone. And therefore I've taught and been taught erroneously. Yeah. My brother is as right as I am, and if I think he's wrong, then I am condemning myself also. So the logic's impeccable. Forgive, let go. Do not go into the ego insanity on any level. Either in myself or in my brother. I'm pointing the finger at my brother, but really I'm pointing at myself.
Yeah. If you hold error in mind, what does error do to your mind? It splits your mind. You're no longer in pure formless awareness.
Right.
You're making the error real, and there's a disturbance in your own peace.
Definitely.
So you condemning yourself to disturbance of your peace, and a state of being outside of the kingdom, outside of pure formless awareness, not in your pure formless awareness.
So this is what Hugh Len was talking about, wasn't it? Going into the hospital in Hawaii. Understanding if Hugh's seeing upset out there, it must be the upset in himself.
Yeah, because it's a one belief system. You see, this is why this is true. The belief in separation is a belief system, a thought system. So you see it outside, you see the results of it outside.
Yeah.
When you make it real, then that belief is very much in your own mind.
I was just thinking, this morning was good. I was teaching a kids art class, and there was a little guy with all sorts of ADH, and he had 3 adults with him, and they were on his case the whole time. And because I was quite tired and quite sort of just going with the flow of the class, there was no point in meeting this little guy in his running around state. So we just went with him and saw him at his level, and he became very quiet and very content, actually. Yeah, I hadn't thought about him in that case in these terms, but it was just seeing the beauty in him. Actually, he was really lovely little guy, apparently with troublesome behavior. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is too often, what adults do. If you don't have a trained mind like this, then you make that problem real, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
What they do, they go, oh, the kid, okay, you're a problem child now. Okay, so you got ADHD. Okay, so let's make the problem real. We're going to perceive it as real. We're going to speak about it. We're going to try and get treatment for it. And what you do, you make the whole thing real. And then the
Yeah.
kid's like, well, then he starts to believe it.
Yeah.
And
Actually,
this is how the system goes.
yeah. Actually, he was completely charming, and he did some lovely things. So
Yeah. So
wish him luck.
this is just to see your brother in his true light always, and that's your job as a miracle worker.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, no matter how he's behaving. And people can do some very insane, stupid things. Just on the level of form.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's to overlook that and say, well, look, just this belief in separation, it's just a crazy belief in separation, making him or her do that. It's not really who they are. It's just false. Like all of it's false. The belief and the manifestation of the belief, how this person's behaving, the effects of it, it's all false. So why am I going to respond to what's false and what's not really happening? Because if it's false, it's not real.
Yeah.
So it's not really happening. It never really happened. This is the forgiveness recognizes that what you think has happened hasn't really happened. So if it hasn't really happened, why are you reacting to it as though it did happen?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is the split. The ego is saying, no, it did happen. And the Holy Spirit saying, no, it didn't. And you can't have both of those perceptions in your mind. It's one or the other. It happened or it didn't happen. It's binary choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because you can't hold those simultaneously in mind. It's opposites. It happened, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's true, it's not true. So it's just an application. This is how he's the rubber meets the road of applying non-dual teaching in this way.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how you apply it. Okay, Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, simply looks at all errors and says the errors are not true. The errors are not real, so don't make them real. Don't react to them in any way, shape, or form, because they're not true. And then you will correct your own mind and you'll correct your brother's. And that healing of the mind sorts the problem out, because the problem is the belief in separation.
Mm.
So the ego is going to tell you, no, you need to deal with it on the level of form. But the Holy Spirit's going to say, no, deal with it first on the level of the mind. Now, the art of this is you might be guided to do something on the level of form. So you do it, but you're not making it all real in your doing it. You see, that's the key thing. Your doing of it is now coming from love, not from, oh, I want to fix up the problem.
Yeah.
I want to correct the error. It's an extension of love. And that's a subtle but a very profound difference.
Okay.
Okay, so any comments on number 5? Questions? Happy with that?
Happy with that.
John?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Happy to move on to 6 then.
Yeah.
You cannot correct yourself. Is it possible then for you to correct another? Yet you can see him truly, because it is possible for you to see yourself truly. It is not up to you to change your brother, but merely to accept him as he is. His errors do not come from the truth that is in him, and only this truth is yours. His errors cannot change this, and can have no effect at all on the truth in you. To perceive errors in anyone and to react to them as if they were real is to make them real to you. You will not escape paying the price for this, not because you are being punished for it, but because you are following the wrong guide and will therefore lose your way. I'm kind of intrigued by that first sentence, actually. You cannot correct yourself. Because, I mean, the work that we're doing, we are correcting ourselves, aren't we?
Well, who's correcting who is the question.
Okay. Oh, you mean, okay.
You cannot correct yourself. So the you he's referring to there is the you that's identified itself as something separate.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
The you separate self cannot correct yourself. Okay, the separate self cannot correct itself.
And I'm also thinking you cannot correct yourself because you are perfect anyway. But that's a different you, isn't it? All right.
So the awareness of oneness is the correction of all the false beliefs. So that the Holy Spirit or the awareness of oneness is what does the correction. It's that awareness that's you're not really doing it. It's just allowing that awareness into your mind.
Yeah.
And yes, okay, I'm willing to accept this.
Yeah.
The alternative thought system.
Yeah.
And that's going to do the correction. Because it just reminds me of the truth.
Yeah.
Corrects by reminding me of the truth, and in the presence of truth, the ego is undone, the error is undone.
Yes. Okay. I like that sentence now. That first one. Cannot correct yourself because it is actually up to the Holy Spirit to correct us.
You have to allow it. You know, the Holy Spirit can't work if you don't allow it in your mind, because it's your own awareness of it, and it's your remembrance of that, and your willingness to listen to it.
Yeah.
But the awareness is the awareness. You know, that's beyond your ability to change or alter. It's there always. Just will you listen to it? Will you cultivate it and listen to it in your own awareness? Or will you consistently deny it?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense now. And the rest flows on, actually. Is it possible then for you to correct another? No, impossible. Yet you can see him truly, because if you go from your right mind, you will see him truly, because then you will also truly see yourself. It's not up to you to change your brother, but to accept him as he is. Do not engage with his errors, because they don't come from the truth in him, which is in effect the same truth as in you, i.e. us. His errors cannot change this and can have no effect on it. So whatever his errors are, they're not going to touch us, the real us. And to perceive errors in anyone is to react to them and give them reality, give them energy, and that will come with a price. Not because we're being punished, but because we are following the wrong guide. We are following the sense of separation, and will therefore lose our way.
Remember, you said yesterday, judgment is a setting of a price, and as you set it, you will pay it. So if we judge something as real, we've set the price, and then we pay it because we're making the illusion real, and then we separate ourselves from pure formless awareness or love, and we suffer. And therefore we'll lose our way.
Yeah. Yep, it's good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Happy with that paragraph?
Yeah.
Number 7.
Your brother's errors are not of him any more than yours are of you. Accept his errors as real, and you have attacked yourself. If you would find your way and keep it, see only truth beside you, for you walk together. The awareness of oneness in you forgives all things in you and in your brother. His errors are forgiven with yours. At-one-ment is no more separate than love. At-one-ment cannot be separate because it comes from love. Any attempt you make to correct a brother means that you believe correction by you is possible, and this can only be the arrogance of the belief in separation. Correction is of pure formless awareness. Who does not know of arrogance. This wonderful arrogance again. So Again, another, nifty way of explaining why, if I persist in seeing my brother's errors, then I attack the extension, me, him. If you would find your way and keep it, see only truth beside you. So truth walks beside me. I like that flowery sentence. The awareness of oneness only forgives all things in me and my brother.
Maybe translate forgives here as let go.
Aha, yeah. The awareness of oneness in me lets go all things in you and in your brother. Let's go all things in me and my brother. Yeah. So at one moment is
his errors are let, you skip that. His errors are let go with yours.
yes.
So as you let go of his errors in your mind,
Yeah.
guess what? You're letting go of your errors.
Yeah.
It's one. Here's the key thing. It's one thought system.
Yeah.
You're letting go of your belief in separation by not seeing it anyway.
Okay.
Not giving it any headspace, not any belief. Then you're letting go of your own errors, and then you're free.
Yeah.
So it's such a simple principle, but
it really is.
We have to keep reminding ourselves, because the ego's convinced us. No. Actually, the opposite is true, and your brother's errors are real, and they do warrant correction. Because how else? Ego's going to tell you, well, how else are they going to ever learn then? If I don't correct them, how are they ever going to learn? But it's correction at another level, you see. Not at the level of the error. It's saying, hold to the truth and show them that truth. And if they can get the truth through your awareness,
Yeah.
holding it for them, then the errors will be corrected.
Yeah.
They will simply let them go. So it's correcting through truth rather than through pointing out error.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I'm just had a real awareness of all the times when I've banged on, believing that if I just raise my voice, that person will finally understand. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, and it never works, because all that person feels is they feel like they're being attacked and they feel a bit threatened. And really, what you're saying is, I'm seeing you as an ego.
Yeah.
So they don't feel good about themselves. You don't feel good about yourself because your own ego is being activated.
Yeah.
And so the ego is in charge of the whole relationship.
The whole thing. Yeah.
And the result is obviously not good. No one feels good. You feel disconnected from love. You feel alienated. And it's primary that you don't do that. I don't know if you're familiar with the Gottman Institute. So it's a research institute in the US, and they've studied couples for many years. Like studied, behavior, and so there's a scientific approach to it. And they talk about the 4 horsemen in relationships. And condemnation, criticism, condemnation, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Those are the 4 horsemen.
Criticism, condemnation.
Yeah.
Stonewalling.
And defensiveness. Let me just make sure I got that correct. I'm doing it from memory. The beauty of Google is you just Google something and it brings it straight up for you. 4 horsemen. There we go. So 4 horsemen. Gottman. Gottman. Let's see. 4 horsemen. Sorry, contempt. So it was contempt, It's from the four horsemen of the apocalypse
Yeah.
in Christian, in Revelation. I think that's the reference. Figures in the
Yeah.
Christian religion, Old Testament's prophetic book of Zechariah, book of Ezekiel. They're named as punishments from God. Very fearful. They later appear in the New Testament's final book, Revelation, the apocalypse written by John of Patmos. So that's the reference. And then what the Gottmans have done is they've gone, well, these are the four horsemen in relationships that signal the end. This is the apocalyptic end of the relationship. If you want to believe in these, so it's criticism, contempt, not condemnation, but it's really pretty similar. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling are the key behaviors that kill a relationship. These are the signs of the end. And they notice, because they would analyze couples' conversations, and they'd see when someone's saying something, they had a way of analyzing, so they could pick up, okay, well that's a criticism, that's a sign of contempt. And so they would interview them and for half an hour, and they'd make notes and they'd have a score. And if couples scored high on these four horsemen, then it was a huge predictor of failure of the relationship, of divorce. So this is how it plays out. On the level of form, look at what criticism and contempt do. Right? They're making the error real, aren't they? You're seeing your brother in his error, in his ego, rather than his truth, and constantly judging that and making it real. Mm-hmm. And of course, the response is defensiveness and stonewalling. The person feels attacked and criticized, so what do? They defend and they stonewall.
Yeah.
And of course, then there's no love. It's separation, like hectic separation. The more that pattern goes on, the more separate the couple become, and eventually, a separation is inevitable. They're just going to go, well, what's the point of even continuing with this? We're going to end it. So this is how it plays out in relationships, as these qualities, these.
How do you understand stonewalling, John? I mean, I understand it as not responding to somebody and
say pretending you don't hear,
blocking them.
Kind of like, I don't want to hear you. I don't want to listen. Whatever, no, I'm not interested. I'm not gonna even listen to you, because that's a defense. It's another defensiveness. Is like directly, okay, well, you attack me, and so I'm going to defend. And stonewalling is, okay, well, I'm just going to kind of not respond, pretend I didn't hear. And stonewalling is not, although you might be silent in stonewalling, it's not the same as holding the true awareness of your brother in mind. This is going to be a very different energy. No. Stonewalling, you're still very much in ego, you're feeling defensive. So stonewalling is a defense against the apparent criticism, whereas this approach of the Holy Spirit is simply not to make any of it real. So you're not stonewalling, you're just staying in the truth, in the light, and not reacting.
I guess you get a lot of stone. I guess the evidence of stonewalling would be when one partner nags the other and the first one ends up going deaf.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, deaf, or burying themselves in the newspaper and just like,
yeah,
okay, I'm just going to read and pretend I don't know you. This kind of thing, because it's I don't want to deal with the criticism. So this is how it plays out in relationships, and you look at the principles of this. Well, yes, of course it's not going to work, because criticism and contempt make the error real, and they judge your brother as guilty for that error. And then of course your brother's going to respond with defensiveness, because no one wants to feel like they're guilty, then you defend and you go, no, that's not true. And of course, all of that's separation.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, Iona, do you want to summarize number 7 for us?
Well, again, emphasizing that my brother's errors are not of him or any more than mine are. If I accept them as real, I've attacked myself. Holy Spirit, awareness of oneness, forgives all things and does not even see the error. Any attachment, any attempt I make to correct a brother means that I am totally in thrall of the arrogant ego. Leave that to awareness of oneness. No, sorry, to pure formless awareness who does not recognize or know arrogance.
So it's trusting that this awareness will correct all errors. And if you stay in that awareness, then it's going to do it through you. So it's not you trying to do it. No, correction is not of you.
Right.
Yes.
It's not my job.
You cannot correct yourself. How can you? You know, the little self can't correct itself.
No. Again, it's a level.
It's at a different level.
Yes. Okay. So this is
It's holding to that level and saying, if I hold that awareness, then this awareness, which is the Holy Spirit, is going to do it for me, because that will inspire my words and my actions if they're required. So it's not really me doing it, it's this higher awareness doing it.
Okay.
And then it's not my responsibility. I'm just opening my mind and letting it come through.
Yeah.
So you can't fix your problems. You can't sort out your problems or your brothers.
No.
Because they were made at that era of the you. The problem is the little you is the problem. So how can the little you solve any problems when it's the problem?
Okay.
So by not judging any of the errors as real, you take yourself out of that little self.
Yeah.
And then the correction has happened at a mind level, and then it plays out on the level of form somehow, because that's how it works.
Yeah.
Remember, miracles are just a correction. That's our
Yeah.
translation of miracle. Miracles are correction in your mind. So it's taking your mind from the lower level of the ego, belief in separation, to the true level of oneness in every situation, and then being inspired. Okay, well, what should I do? Maybe I do nothing. Maybe I say something. Maybe I do something. But we see in the likes of Buddha and Jesus, and in these situations from their life, these stories, just how well they responded to these challenging situations. It wasn't like they weren't tested, of course they were, but they just knew exactly what to say and what to do in the moment. And then people say, well, how could they know? Did they rehearse it? No, it just, that awareness speaks for them. They've given their mind to that awareness and it speaks for them, and it gives them exactly the right thing to say or do in the moment. And then we call them masters. It's actually the spirit that's the master, and they just surrendered to it.
Yeah.
So this is a great lesson, a great section of the text.
That's amazing.
Remind us, look, this is the way. Because it's a major issue. It's how you deal with your brother's errors. They're all over the place. Errors crop up in your awareness all the time, don't they?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, daily basis, sometimes many times a day. Oh, look, oh, look there, another error. Oh, and this continues through the day. And it's like, well, if we keep misperceiving, how are we ever going to get out of the error? So you have to collapse it as you see it and go, no, remember, the error is not true. The error is not real. So let me not go there. Let me not take my thoughts and emotions down to that level and make the error real. This is what this is about.
Yeah.
Let me stay in this higher awareness, in the equanimity we talked about.
Yeah.
Soft equanimity. I'm equanimous. I'm not going into that lower level. I'm remaining in this awareness that's pure, that's holy, that's loving, and it's not fluctuating, it's not deviating. It simply is in that state, and nothing can affect it. So I just don't react to any of these errors, which means I don't make them real, which means I stay in my higher mind. I stay rooted in that, and the best chance then of bringing my brother into that, if I stay there. How can I save my brother if I dive in with him into the ego's tempestuous ocean and now try and save him from there? I can't. I have to stay above it so I can pull him out. To use another analogy. Okay, so number 8, it's quite a short one today. So one more paragraph, and then we're done.
This is an interesting paragraph. I read it earlier actually, and it's the one paragraph that I really struggled with.
Okay.
So I'd like to take it bit by bit.
Okay. No problem. We'll do it sentence by sentence.
Yeah, the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness, forgives everything because God created everything. Because God, pure formless awareness, created everything.
Translate that from the top. So the awareness of oneness.
Awareness of oneness. Oh, let's go of everything. The awareness of oneness lets go of everything.
Yeah.
Because pure formless awareness. What's the different word for created?
Pure formless awareness extended everything.
Extended everything. I don't get the purpose of that sentence.
Okay.
The awareness of oneness.
Let's go of everything.
Let's go of everything because pure formless awareness
extended everything.
Extended everything.
Okay, so
let's perhaps. I'm not sorry, John. What were you going to say?
Well, let's unpack that. So the Holy Spirit lets go of everything, right? So he's talking about any block to the awareness of love's presence. Let's go of everything on the level of form, everything that's a block, everything that's going to block pure formless awareness from your awareness. So let's go of everything. And it can do that because God extended everything, right? So God extended everything, including you. This is your true nature. You are an extension of pure formless awareness. And so the Holy Spirit can simply let go of everything that's contrary to that. Everything that is not pure formless awareness.
Okay.
It can let go of because God, love, pure formless awareness is the base state of everything. So it's when it's letting go, it's just restoring the mind to the base state.
Got it. Yeah.
The ground of being. And that's why it can let go, because there's something beyond the ego. If the ego was true reality, you couldn't let go of it. It would be impossible.
Yes. So the awareness of oneness is letting go of everything because that which is real was created by pure formless awareness and has been okay.
Yeah, get that? Because there's that ground of being, the Holy Spirit can let go of everything on this level. Because when you let go of the false level, then what you drop into is the ground of being.
Yeah.
God created everything. That pure formless awareness is what's left when you let go of everything.
Yeah.
And that's why the Holy Spirit forgives everything, because the ground of being, God, pure formless awareness, is waiting when you do let go of everything.
Yeah. Do not undertake. Okay, interesting. Do not undertake his function, capital H. Do not undertake the function of pure formless awareness, or you will forget yours.
So the Holy Spirit there. So it's the awareness of oneness. The awareness of oneness is function.
Yes. Do not undertake the function of the awareness of oneness, or you will forget yours. I mean, we can't undertake the function of the awareness of oneness anyway.
Well, the ego tries to. The ego tries to usurp it.
Ah, okay.
Of course, it's always got an alternative. So it says, well, I'll correct the errors then. The ego is gonna be the corrector now.
Okay.
I'll see the error in my brother, and I'll try and correct my brother because I'm being good. This is good. I'm correcting his error, and this is actually helping him.
Do not try to undertake his function. Yeah. Or you will forget yours.
Yes. Your function is simply his function.
Yeah. Accept only the function of healing in time. In time. Accept only the function of healing in time. So, because that is what time is for. So, I think what he's saying, the essence of what he's saying here is accept only the function of healing as it comes up in your life, because that's what time and the apparent dimension of time is for, because it positions things and brings them up as they need to be healed.
Yeah. Let's have a look at our timeline. Where are we? Timeline of consciousness. So what's happening in time is that all of these situations, dramas that come up, the ego is trying to use it to attach us to our identity, attach us to the timeline. And the Holy Spirit just reinterprets it and says, no, this is another opportunity to let go of a part of the belief in separation that's keeping you here. So let it go and restore your mind to God, love, eternity, or pure formless awareness, which is really what he's saying in this paragraph. Except only the function of healing in time, in other words, the correction. Healing is the letting go, the correction of all of the errors.
Yeah.
Because that is what time is for. Right? So all of these situations are for healing. That's what they're there for. The traumas, whatever's happening, even the good things, it's there for healing of your mind.
Yeah.
To help you return your mind to this, rather than go the other way and reach it onto the timeline.
Yeah, that's good. God gave you, love gave you the function to extend in eternity, and we defined eternity as being the space beyond all time, outside of time. So
no time.
Love gave you the function to extend, to create in outside of time. Okay. You do not need to learn that, but you do need to learn to want it. So I think what he's saying here is that we don't need to learn what all that's about. We just need to want it, to want that function, or that function to create in eternity.
Which means that we are one. Create, remember, is extend. Nothing new is being created, but to extend in timelessness, in a timeless state. Right? So in this timeless state, there is no concept of time passing. It's simply pure extension.
Yeah.
You remain in this pure formless awareness forever, and there's no sense of time passing.
Then he puts it all together by saying, for that, all learning was made. Whole thing out. This is the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness's use of an ability that you do not need, but that you made. This is the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness's use of an ability that you do not need, but that you made.
Do you understand what he's talking about?
No. This is the Holy Spirit.
Use of an ability. So learning is an ability that you really don't need in pure formless awareness. There's nothing to learn.
All right.
You simply are what you are. So but the Holy Spirit, the awareness of oneness's use of this ability to learn, is the reinterpretation of it that's going to get you out of the dream.
Ah, yes, okay.
All learning was really made to help you to learn to undo your dream, undo the false belief in separation.
So the awareness of one's abuse of an ability, which is our skill at creating problems, don't need, but that we made.
You need to learn to want it. Interesting. So he's combining learning with the idea of desire. So he's also referring to the desire for God. You need to learn that this is all you want.
Yeah.
So if the desire for separation was what created the whole dream, then the desire for oneness is what's going to correct it.
Yes.
You need
We
to
don't
learn that desire is all you want.
we don't need to figure out how to recreate the awareness of oneness. We just need to want it. Give it to him. Give it to him. So give over, let it go. Give it to him, capital H, the awareness of oneness. Love, give it to love.
Understand what give it means. Give, what is he referring to there?
Hand it over.
Give what?
Give up our issues, problems,
No,
misconceptions.
he's talking about give the learning.
Oh,
ability. Okay. Give the learning to. This is the Holy Spirit's use.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Give the learning to.
That ability from the
learning
previous sentence is to learn to want it. For that all learning was made. So he's referring to learning. So give learning to the Holy Spirit. Give learning to the awareness of oneness, and let it be directed by only this awareness of oneness.
You do not understand how to use it. Okay, fair enough. We don't know that. He will teach you how to see yourself without condemnation. So when going down this path, the Holy Spirit will teach us how to view ourselves without condemnation, because we are forgiving ourselves. By forgiving our brothers, we are forgiving ourselves, seeing ourselves without condemnation, by learning how to look on everything without it. So by learning to look on everything, our brothers, every situation without condemnation, we begin to see ourselves without condemnation. Condemnation will then not be real to you. How could it? Will not be real to you. Well, it couldn't possibly be real, could it, in that case? All your errors will be forgiven because they have gone in your mind by that stage. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yes.
All your errors will be forgiven. So go back to the four horsemen. You know, contempt. Contempt is condemnation, isn't it? And of contempt, I condemn you. And I go, you know, you guilty, you stupid. And so that makes condemnation real for both people. The person who's judging and condemning, as well as for the person who's on the receiving end. And then all your errors will be forgiven. All your errors will be let go of. So when you condemn others, you're just condemning yourself to this illusion of being separate from love, from pure formless awareness. So it makes complete sense, and the ego makes no sense. It's just to remember that, because we've come to believe in what's really not sensible at all. Okay, you want to give a little summary of that paragraph, John?
Well, the awareness of, the Holy Spirit, awareness of oneness, forgives everything because it works from a pure place. It cannot perceive it does not perceive of impurity or separation. Don't try. Yeah, I mean, it says over a couple of times here, don't try and do the work of the Holy Spirit, because that there is no need and there's no point, and we don't understand it and we couldn't do it. But just have a desire to go with that and be taken out of time. In apparent time, we are given learning opportunities, and that's fine. That's what time is about. That's part of the reason for time. But the thing to do is the main thing is to want to go with the Holy Spirit. And then
but the truth is, it's the only reason for time. Right? The ego's reason for time is not a good reason. The ego's reason for time is simply to deny eternity and keep you separated. So the only true reason for time is healing, as he's saying. It's only the function of healing in time. The only purpose of time is to correct your mind, take it back to oneness, take it out of time, back to timelessness, to eternity. And the way you do this is you desire only that. To learn to want only that. So just like this whole dream was born through false desire. You know, we desired to be separate. And that desire then kicked off the whole separation and the descent into hell. To get out of it, we must desire the opposite. We must desire only oneness. And that's the undoing of the desire for separation.
I think this whole passage reminds me of all those egoic arguments that went on during that Brexit fiasco, and all the disruption, all the bad feeling that it generated, and all the split that it created.
Yeah, and this is what the ego does. You know, it just wants to separate, and then teach you that this belief in separation is real, and then condemn your brother for that. So you project your own guilt for the separation onto him, and then the ego says, "Well, I'm not the guilty one. He or she's the guilty one." But guess what? By doing that, you're condemning yourself, because who's experiencing condemnation? And look at, you know, I mean, I was just watching the news briefly because my parents watch Sky News, and so this whole thing with Boris Johnson, and like there's
yeah, it's hilarious.
For God's sakes, the guy at a party, you know, so he broke the rules. Let it go, for God, you know, like, geez. But it's on and on and on. You see, the ego can't let it go. It's like, no, he's wrong, he's guilty, and we got to condemn him. Can't just go like, okay, well, whatever, you know. So yeah, he had a party, but he likes to party. Okay, so maybe he was, you know, he didn't obey the regulations. Oh my God, you know, terrible. But it's like someone, you know, now the ego wants to crucify him.
Yeah.
And we can't just go, let it go, for God's sakes. You know, what does it matter? The error never really happened. So, oh, no, the error really happened. And he's really guilty for it. And really, you know, and this is the thought system that plays itself out. Imagine if we lived in a world where everyone just said the error is not real. Just drop it already. It's not real. It never happened. I mean, there would be no news, would there?
No.
News would be like, well, nothing really happened today. Can you imagine? We should do a skit. Someone should do a skit. You know, here's a Course in Miracles version of the news. Well, apparently on the level of form, you know, there's a war in the Ukraine, but really, actually, nothing's happening. So let's just sit in meditation and just be. Yeah. Because none of this is true. But of course, the news makes it all real, and that's what it's designed to do.
Your headline would be the same headline every night, though.
God is. That's it. Peace is. Love is. It doesn't really make headlines. That's the problem. The news needs to be like, oh, there's something different happening, or it's different, unique, something that's going to get people's attention. It's going to sell newspapers. It's going to
Well,
get people
the news would be the Americans have finally understood that what Putin wants is recognition and to be heard and not encroached upon. And
yeah, this is all a cry for love. Putin's cry for love is the attack on the Ukraine. So why don't we all forgive him and let's just love Putin? Can you imagine news like that? It would be, it's not going to happen in our lifetime probably. But the point is, you can perceive it how you want to. That's the power of this. You can choose this. You can choose to see it this way, even though the mass psychosis of the ego will not see it that way. And most people will say, well, you're mad. You're crazy. Well, who's crazy? That's the question. Who's the crazy one? Then the person who believes in separation or the person who believes in oneness? Who's the crazy one? And each thought system is going to tell the other thought system that it's crazy because the one denies the other. So, of course, the Holy Spirit's going to be denied by the ego. It has to be. It's going to be called crazy and weird and far out, and this is not practical and so on and so on, because it has to. Because if it accepts it, then it's game over. Okay. So John or Iona, do you want to give a little summary of the whole thing? Like, what are the key points here? And then we'll call it a night, I think.
Can we just go back to the heading?
Yeah, the correction of error.
The correction of error.
That gives you a clue.
Yeah, because it's always in the title, isn't it? And what he's talking about here is that in order to correct error, we must not pick on the error in our brother, because to do so is merely to amplify error within ourselves. So when we overlook error in our brother and see him as perfect, then well, actually the summary of this whole thing is see your brother as pure and innocent, and you will correct his errors and your own.
Yeah.
That's a good summary. And don't think that to correct his error is true correction. It's not.
No.
It's just making the error real and in fact perpetuating the error. So true correction of error comes from the Holy Spirit, and that it just lets it go. So there's none of it's true, none of it's real. So don't acknowledge it, don't give it any reality, and respond to your brother from that place, rather than from the place of making his error real and then trying to fix the error. And so it's to hold the space for that person to say, yeah, remember this awareness. I'm in this awareness. I'm in this state of mind. Remember, this is your true awareness. Remember. And so you correct them on another level. That's what he's talking about. Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
I think it's a good chapter, actually. I like it.
Very good section. Yeah. Something you can come back to frequently, because this is a major issue, how you see your brother's errors. So huge area of correction in your own mind, because this is how the ego sets it up. Your brothers keep making errors, don't they? And if you keep seeing them, then guess what? You make error real to yourself. Then you're rooted in the error rather than in the truth.
Oh, Jono, I'm going to have to go to sleep now. It was such an interrupted night last night. So
yeah, well, I think we're done. So we'll just a little 2-minute closing. So just close your eyes. We'll just do a little prayer of gratitude. So breathing in and just connecting with the presence of love and gratitude for this love that's really guiding us through this amazing teaching. Every day there's a new lesson, there's new text, and it's just this unfolding journey of awakening to the truth. So I just feel really grateful for that. It's full appreciation of this amazing teaching of Jesus and all the people who brought this. Alan Shackman, Bill Thetford, Ken Wapnick. There's many people who dedicated their lives to this, bringing this amazing teaching into the world, and now we're the beneficiaries. And give thanks for the mighty companions on the journey. So thank you, Iona, Kenneth, John, everyone else in the community, and everyone in your life, because actually everyone's your teacher. So family, friends, relations, acquaintances, social networks, everyone is part of the sonship, and they're all helping you to awaken if you see it that way. We're not seeing the errors and simply overlooking those and seeing the truth of them. So you're going to carry this awareness with you into tomorrow. Simply overlook tomorrow any errors that come your way. Just dismiss them as the unreal illusions they are, and keep yourself in the peace of God. Passes all understanding in the process. So it is said, and so it is done. And then open your eyes, and head off to bed if that's what you're going to do.
Okay.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste. See you tomorrow, same time, 1:30.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bye.
Jono.
Bye.
All
Thank you,
right.
Iona. Night, night, get it. Cheers, Jono.
Cheers. Night.